Okay, now I'm unmuted. I think. Can you hear me now? Chuck, can you hear me? Okay, cool. Okay, so I just set a save folder up here with the target name. And so now I'll do a 16-bit save of the raw stack. And looks like I've got almost 400 frames stacked here. And then I'll go ahead and save it as it's displayed here. The histogram right here is what is being applied to this image. So I'll go ahead and save that as viewed. The raw stack, though, will have none of this histogram applied to it, so I can process it in Photoshop or GIMP or whatever. I was actually going for this guy up here. So what I'll do is, and you can see on the image here, the image rotation as it's tracking. We're losing some of the top of the image right here. So what I'll do here is I'll go ahead and turn off live stack on this one, since I think we captured enough on that. And I'll head on up to this guy right here. And what I can do is I can turn the gain way up on individual frames to see where I'm at. And I am too far. Let's try that. Looks promising. So this is NGC 57775. And I'm going to kill the histogram on the individual frame, and I'm going to go ahead and live stack now. So I'll clear the old stack and let this drop in. Turn the gain down a little bit, or the histogram here a little bit down. So this is scaled to fit right now, so I'll zoom in. And it looks like we can already see some dust patterns and so on showing up. SharpCap does have an option for plate solvers, but I don't use one. I just try to keep track of where the heck I am. There is an automatic SharpCap mode for setting exposure lengths in this special histogram tool, but I haven't really experimented with this yet. So I'm just going to concentrate on, I've been just doing all this sort of stuff manually as I'm learning the tool. So I'm doing a filter, and it looks like it's having some trouble with star align. Oh, no, I'm not quite sure. Oh, it paused when I went off. There we go. All right. When I went in and brought up that histogram, it exited live stack mode. So here's the full width half max star filter. So I've got it set to 4.8 pixels star widths. And so you can see it's dropping a few frames here. I could probably go a little bit tighter, obviously, but and you can see it's doing stacking most of these frames here. There's also a brightness filter so that if a cloud goes in front, it'll stop gathering data and so on. So now that's collected, looks like we've got about a minute and a half here. I'll go ahead and start. I'll try balance here. And then set my black point, and we'll pull this up a little bit. Keep going. So yeah, we're definitely getting a dust lane here now. Looks like there might be some funny stuff going on here too, with something above it. I can't quite tell yet. Here's that barred spiral on the previous capture down the corner here of the same image. It's like there are a few companion galaxies here too. Now I've got the gain cranked up. I think I've got it set at 470, so it's a little bit noisy. Usually for imaging, I'll set this around the gain around 420. But I wanted this to go kind of fast so I wouldn't have to stack for too long during a live session. So it looks like lots of other little faint galaxies are starting to pop up here. This noise right here would pretty much smooth out after about 10-minute total exposure with a 470 gain. Yeah, that's nice. A lot of dust lane. This is a pretty small galaxy, though. So it just happened to be in the neighborhood when I was doing some testing. So it's coming up on 3 minutes here. So I'm going to go ahead and do a save of the viewed image. And I'm also going to save 16-bit stack. It'll go into this directory right here on disk. So if I go back over and get rid of M5, you can see it created a folder here. And the processed images will go into the images as viewed with SharpCat. And so those get saved into a process folder, and then the raw stack data will get saved as FITS files into the outer folder, and it'll put the time of the capture in the folder name. But if I keep, I'll have to clear this capture for it to start a new folder. So if I do another save, so like when I hit 4 minutes here, if I do another save, we'll let it count up. So we're getting good stacks here. It looks like the mount's running pretty stably, so we're not losing a lot of frames to tracking errors. Okay, so I'll go ahead and save as viewed. And then I'll save the 16-bit stack. And so you can see they dropped them into the same folder. It includes some basic information, 16 bits, number of frames, total number of seconds. It also has a camera setting set up, so everything it's configured, it completely runs the camera from within SharpCap, so it'll give you a complete snapshot of what the camera was doing, how it was set up and all. And here's the image in a PNG file. And I can open that up in another app pretty quick, and this is just the Mac OS image editor. Looks like I got a little bit of a glow up there. I'm not quite sure what's doing that. There's a lot of light in my backyard. So, but anyway, I'm going to dump that. We'll go back to the live stack. It depends. The exposure lengths are really depend because, for example, yeah, I do have a dark library. I've got darks saved everywhere from 1 to 10 seconds. About 10 seconds is the max I'll ever do. And so the library, I actually, here are my darks right here. So here's the full frame darks, and I've got darks ranging from 250 millisecond, 500, 1000, all the way up to 10 second exposures. And so, for example, I'll have them at different gains, and some of these that are more common, I'll have more gain settings that I'll save things at. Everything is at 15C, so that one's a little bit off, but all of these darks are recorded around 15C. So it's a fairly large dark library. It's several hundred darks. Each one is 50 frames. And I've also got a half frame for zeroing in on small targets like planetaries. So this is a half frame size that is bin 1, but it gets a small, picks out a smaller section of the center of the field of view. So yeah, the darks basically are used to subtract out defects in the sensor and artifacts that'll be produced at specific combinations of exposures and gain settings. So, for example, I'll have a particular bin. This is a bin 1 image size of 2 seconds with a gain of 420, 470, 520, and 570, and I have an image of what the camera sees with no light exposure at all. It's basically there's a lens cap on, and that allows me to characterize the response of the sensor when no light's hitting it. So when there are hot pixels and so on, it'll pick those out, and then I can subtract those out when I apply them in SharpCap. Over in the camera control settings, there's a pre-processing section that allows me to select darks and flats. The darks are, again, from that dark library, and the flats are to remove vignettes and artifacts in the optical system. Those are actually exposed with the camera, with an actual flat flat light box on the front of the telescope to help characterize the overall optical system's behavior. I've got a picture of M3 right here, actually, that I took without a flat. And you can see the, where is it, right here? Oh, M5, sorry, M5. So this is with no flat. Here's M5, and you can see how there's this darkening that's a vignette out here, produced by just the behavior of the particular optical system on my 16-inch and the camera setup and everything, and the filter also. And then here's the same exposure, and you can see with the flat applied, you get a pretty uniform field all the way across, and so that vignette is completely removed. Steve. Okay, so I'm going to, you can see this has been running, we're up at 8 minutes now, and you can see how much smoother the image is now. So we'll save this and then move on to another one. Let's see, save a 16-bit stack. So when I say the 16-bit stack, that's a raw image without any curves applied to it. When I save as viewed, it applies this histogram curve that I've got set up in SharpCat, and the color balance that I've got set up. And so I can use this to adjust the image live on screen as I'm looking at it. So, oh, this is kind of a cool little irregular up here. That's interesting. I'll play around with that in post-processing later with the stacked image. So, oh, getting back to your question, Chuck, it does, if I'm doing a very high, I'm trying to get a very, very detailed image, like say of the Ring Nebula, I'll do short exposures, 1 second exposures, or maybe even a ½ second, and I'll do lots of them, and that will tend to get me, how do you mean recording? What do you mean recording? I don't understand. The video will go in, this video will go on to YouTube, if that's what you mean. So after I close the session, it'll get recorded onto YouTube and other people at any time afterwards. Okay. So, okay, so I'm going to go and, oh well, what happened? Where is, oh, there it is. Okay. SharpCat is a little goofy about its little pop-out windows sometimes. It kind of loses its mind a little bit. I'm not quite sure why. Okay, I'm going to turn the gain way up here since I'm going to be prowling for a new target. So let's see. This just happened to be a target of opportunity right there. Look at M5, or let's see what else I have. M13's in a good spot now. This guy might be interesting at some point. Whoops. I'm lost on my windows here. There we go. Okay. Any requests? This will be a little bit better spot in a few minutes after it drops out of the zenith. It's kind of in Dobson's hole right here. So maybe in about 15, 20 minutes, this will pop out. This galaxy pair is probably in a decent spot. Okay. So I'll go ahead and hit M13 then. So let's see, what I'm going to do is I'll just go ahead and hit go to here. So you can see my scope is tracking up to the new spot. I don't know if you can see the little blue target. Okay. See how now I'm looking at individual frames here. I want to see how need to let my tracking settle in a little bit. I'm at 100% 1-to-1 pixel on my screen. It's probably a little bit less than that on your view. So this is just individual frames turned way up. This is at 200%. So it looks like tracking's pretty decent. So I'm going to go with 1 second frames or 1 second exposures, since this is a pretty bright cluster. Yeah. I need 2 screens. I was thinking about that today. I was thinking, you know, I could get a second screen for my Mac, so I could run Sky Safari and I could run SharpCap on individual screens. Okay, so we'll go back to 100, and so you can see the okay, I'm at bin 2 right now, and 1 second, and I'll drop this down to 420, and then I'll pull up the new frame. So we'll get, since it's so bright, we don't need to hit it with so much gain to get a rapid result. And I think, so I loaded the black, my thermal control. Here's the thermal control right here. The only thing I ever play with is gain settings here, the frame rate, and I'm going to go ahead and set this to 1 frame per second, since that's all I'm doing. And 1000 16 bin 2. Okay. So let me go ahead, and that's pretty well centered. So I'll go ahead and start live stacking that. Clear the old one. You can see that old galaxy there. And okay. It'll stack the display histogram for single frames and the histogram stacked frames, which is incredibly annoying. So I'm going to go ahead and reset the histogram, and we can see it's a whole lot darker now, and because I've got lower gain, and there's my okay. I'm going to do auto color balance. So that sets my background, and I'm going to set my black point here about there. And so here then, this is 100% scale here. And we'll turn. So you can see how much smoother the background here is. It's not nearly as noisy, and that was just that was less than 2x drop in gain, going from 470 down to 450. And I'll turn up the, even when I turn up the, curve here, you can really see that the noise drops out really quickly. We're only at 80 frames, and this camera really has amazingly low noise. So there's very little downside to using gain on it, to doing gain in the camera. Unity gain on this camera is 120, and so I'm at 420 right now. So that's like what, 4 times 4 times. So that's about it's a little less than 2x per 50. So that works out to about maybe a 40x gain over Unity. So I'm going to go ahead and readjust the black point. And I'm just going to go ahead and crank this up. So you can see how much I'm zapping this thing. I mean, this is, that's a pretty steep curve right there. And I'm going to leave a little bit of black in there, or a little bit of black, have the black points, a little bit of gray. So I have some room to play with it, even in the save as viewed image. In the 16-bit image, it just saves it raw from whatever it's stacked from the camera. But when I do a save as viewed, see, we're at 2 minutes 43 seconds here now. I'm going to go ahead and save as viewed. I will wait for 3 minutes here. The seeing is not that great tonight. Whoops. Let me try that again. There we go. I think I'll be able to figure out that that isn't that NGC object. Notice the star images. The seeing is actually getting quite a bit better. Oh, and not only that, I forgot about that. I turned the gain. I set the gain to 420. So actually, I probably should have gone back in here and adjusted the filter down. But despite that, the image still looks pretty good. We've stacked enough frames that bad frames kind of got essentially clipped out by the sigma clipping stacking algorithm. So so now that I'm filtering, I've lowered the filter here. We'd get a little bit sharper images, but this is certainly good enough. See if we can see any of the galaxies that are looks like that might be a background galaxy right there. M3 is kind of cool because they're background galaxies that you can see in amongst the stars. Looks like that ice. Oh, there we go. There's a galaxy right there. Okay. So I'll go ahead and pull up the curve here a little bit more. And make this a little wider. I really wish they had some numeric controls there. That would be kind of handy. So yeah, it looks like we got a couple little galaxies down there. So here I've cranked it up enough that we're actually seeing some of the noise. Looks like there's a galaxy right here through the cluster there. It's amazing. Pretty quickly, it really does not take any time at all to hit 20th magnitude galaxies. Oh, there we go. Oh, that's that IC galaxy that's right next to Hercules, I think. Or maybe not. It's not, shouldn't even be in my field of view. Oh no, there's no way. This is my field of view is here. There's no way that's what that is. That is probably, I think that's probably this guy right here. Oh, no, okay. Yeah, I have 4617. So that's a 16th magnitude galaxy right there. Cool. And you can see we're getting nice detail all the way into the center core here. This camera has 14 bits of data. Obviously, we're not using all of that, but with the short exposures, but still, that really helps. Okay, we're at 6 minutes, so I'm just going to go ahead and save this. And this view looks pretty good, actually, so I'm just going to save that. Okay, no problem, Chuck. See ya. Steve, anything you'd like me to take a look at, or you want me to keep going deeper on M13, or okay. Actually, what is that? Well, it's a decent sized spiral. Why don't we, it looks like a nice target of opportunity. How about I go over to that? So that's a pretty decent image of M13. I'll go ahead and save as viewed. And then I'm going to go ahead and clear the live stack on that. Okay, so when I'm in search mode, looking for, I'll turn up, so this is looking at the live frames, updating every second. So since I'm going to be tracking to a new target, I want to be able to see where I'm going here. So I'm just going to just mosey on over. See what 6207 looks like. There it is right there. Okay. So I'll set my target name. When I saved everything I saved in M13 went to my capture folder for 6.5 today. And so here's all the data that I saved with M13. It was all the same stack. So this is at 189 frames, 377, 442. So you can see there's the early frame at 189 frames, and here's a later frame at 442 seconds. So you can see that we're seeing a lot more detail in the outer area here. And I've got FIT's 16-bit data here as well that I can look at later. And a lot of times I'll go in with GIMP and I'll do some deep color adjustment and tuning on stuff in here. Okay, good night, Steve. I don't know if anybody else is watching right now. I'll have to check. I'm not sure how I figured that out. I'm a little new to this. Good talking with you. Nope, that's not it. Okay. There is a... There's my stream. Oh, good night, Steve. Okay, there are my events. Live control room. Okay. I have no idea how to figure out whether somebody's on here. Okay, well, anyway, I'll figure it out some other time. Okay, so here's a little galaxy that's near M13, so I figured I might as well, it was nearby, so I thought, why not? And it's small, so I'm gonna go try going for bin 1, see how the seeing is. It's nearly, so what I'm gonna do is I'm going to go to, I have a half frame that is centered on the center of the field of view, so it allows me to process data a little bit faster. So I'll set my frames to 1 second again, and I'm going to turn up the gain on this all the way and see what my star images look like. There's the galaxy. The star images look darn good. Okay, I'm going to do it. So I'll go up in 1. Oh, I got to load my darks. And so there's my dark for bin 1 for the half frame. So you can see that helps drop out the offset from the camera. And then I'm going to select the half frame flat. Okay. So I think I'm good to go here. Star images are looking pretty decent. So we had a little bit of a tracking error there. So now they're okay. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and start a live stack on this. And I'm going to clear the histogram on the live frame. Yeah. And I'm going to adjust, since I'm zoomed in at a higher at bin 1 here, I need to, my stars are more pixels across because I'm zoomed in. So I'm going to adjust up my star filter size. This filters out images where the stars are too big, where there's a tracking error or whatever. Okay, so you can see the noise as it's stacking is rapidly dropping. I'm only at 420x here, so, or 420 gain, so that's going to help reduce the noise. And we're at 27 frames, and you can see the noise is gradually smoothing out. Let's see what this looks like. So there's the frame overall, and I'm going to go ahead and adjust my histogram a little bit here. Open that up and then reapply the gain. There we go. And let's see what this little guy looks like. Going to do a color balance, and then well, it's definitely a spiral galaxy. Now notice how while we've been fussing around with things, I actually reduced the gamma here because it was kind of cranked up for the smoother M13 image that I had a few minutes ago. But this hasn't collected enough frames yet to get a smooth image with a lot of gamma applied. So I'm going to lower this a little bit, darken that.
Sister's almost done. Are you almost done with your homework? Yeah. Or are you done? You're not done, are you?
So we're at 96 seconds here, and I will...
It's not anything that I've done by tomorrow. Hey, it's 10 minutes to 12. Go upstairs. Your sister's almost done with the lesson.
I'm just going to adjust the histogram here a little bit to see what I can pull out. Now we're not dropping too many frames. Yeah, I think I'm going to lower this to about 4.3 pixels. Looks like most of the images are below that. That'll help drop out bad images.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is a pretty little galaxy. It's a nice blue color in there. Sorry about all that background noise. I do not have a movie studio here. Okay, I'm going to...
Can't rent either.
So, I think I need to take care of that.
I really wish there was a way of numerically adjusting this in SharpCap. This is kind of an irritating issue with SharpCap. Some of the outer arms are starting to show up here a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Seeing is getting pretty good tonight, though. I'm fairly happy with the detail I'm getting here. This is a fairly small galaxy, only 1.6 arc seconds, arc minutes by 3.5 arc minutes. The field of view here is, what is the field of view? It's 13 arc minutes high by 20 wide. So I suspect that there's some outer arms here we're not picking up yet, simply because the exposure isn't long enough yet. There we go. Oops. Oh, I'm starting to drop a lot of frames here. I may be getting a little bit of windy out. I'd have to check. I don't know whether I'm having tracking problems. I'm going to switch to individual frames so I can see what's going on here. Oh, excuse me. Looks pretty good. I'm not quite sure why we're dropping so many frames. Oh, well, whatever was going on, it got better. It may have been there was some wind or a passing cloud or something. Yeah, this galaxy clearly has some detail in the outer regions that is not showing up. So I've been stacking for 5.5 minutes, so I'm going to go ahead and save as viewed here. And I'm going to save 16-bit stack too. A lot of interesting little knots and very cool looking. I'll let it keep stacking while I'm looking for the next target. So we are right there. And so let's see, what's zenith? Let me see if this isn't a good spot. There's a cluster of galaxies here that looks pretty interesting. And it is 76 degrees, so about 15 degrees off. Yeah, that might be good. I'm going to go look out the window. Hang on just a second. Just got to make sure it's not behind a house. Yeah, that should be good. Okay. So I am going to, oh, well, that's interesting. There's some interesting objects starting to show up right there. I don't know what that is. It could just be, I don't know what that is. Huh. Well, I'll have to look at the raw data later and see what's in there. There may be some interesting data in there. So I'm going to go ahead and save as the raw data, and then I'm going to save as viewed, and I'll go ahead and pause this, and I'm just going to scan through here to see what else. If there's anything else. Looks like there's some background galaxies here. Couple little faint galaxies there. Not bad. Okay. So I'm going to close the live stack on this, and I'm going to go back to a larger field of view with bin 2. I've got some presets set up here. I'll just use one of those. So here's my bin 2. That's a 3-second exposure, but I'm going to stick with 1-second exposures tonight just to keep things simple. Sometimes a longer exposure works well, but it's really unnecessary for observing tonight. So that was my dark for this kind of combination of 420 and apply the flat for bin 2. I'm using an IR cut filter here, by the way, the whole evening. That helps improve color contrast a little bit. The green channel can pick up a little bit of red, or a little bit of infrared. So by just clipping out anything above about 690 or so nanometers, that helps improve the color saturation and prevents green from getting too contaminated with red. So I'm going to pull this up here to zap the single frame gamma. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and have the mount go to this point here. I'm going to head outside for a moment to make sure that it doesn't get tangled up in cables. Okay, let's see where we ended up. First, yeah, I've got a power cable going to the cooler and a USB cable going to the camera. And so sometimes when I'm doing a big slew like that, where I'm going around zenith, I just want to make sure that nothing's getting caught as it's doing a big rotation like that. So everything was good. So looks like my mount loves doing this sometimes. I don't know why. It'll go just a little ways from where I want it to be, and then there we go. Okay. So let's see what we got here. I'm going to zoom in on this. And this is should be my field of view roughly. There's a galaxy. So that's a good sign. Which galaxy is it? That's this one. Okay, and oh, and there's the other one right here. They're both in there. Okay. So, whoops. Hey. Okay. No, oh no. Go back. That's pretty good. I got both of them. Okay. So these guys are kind of small, so I think, well, let's see what they look like at 100%. They're a little on the faint side, so let's see, what's this guy? This guy is 13th magnitude, this guy is 12th. Okay, so I'm going to crank up the gain on this. Well, let's go to 2-second exposures. Let's just see. We're holding it. Okay, looks like the tracking is good enough. I'm going to go with that. So I have to select a different dark for 2 seconds rather than 1 second. Okay, we're ready to go. So I'm going to set the IC 1029, IC 1029, and NGC 5673. There. Okay. So I'm going to start a live stack on this. Clear the original one. Reset that. Okay. And we're going to keep this really low. I'm going to keep, yeah. Okay, that looks good. So I set my hat. When I change the exposure and everything, I want to look at my star images and kind of get a feel for what's anomalous. And I'll just pull the full width half max filter down so it's clipping the very worst, but not too many. And so now it looks a little funny on screen because the gain is set for the way it was for the previous image, which is totally inappropriate. So you can see this is where black is. So I'm going to move my black point up here. And I'm going to bring my mid-level up. And so we can start seeing those galaxies. A couple of edge-ons. There's, oh, this one's way faint. Glad I did 2 seconds there. Okay, so you can see there's a pretty good green tint here. So I'm going to zap it with the auto color balance, auto color balance. They are Brits who wrote this software, Sharp Gap. Okay, there we go. Nice, much more neutral color now. And you can see I'm doing 2 seconds, 420, 420 gain, and only 1 frame every second. Don't need that. There we go. And we're not dropping, we're stacking most of the frames. A few frames are getting lost, but not too many. And noise levels look good in the background. And I'm going to start pulling this up. And you can see as I'm really pulling this up, and I still don't have a lot of noise. So, so that's nice. The 2 seconds and the gain there. So now I'm going to pull up the black point a little bit so we can improve our contrast here. There we go. So we're at 2 minutes of stacking. And what this is doing is just adjusting the stacked image as viewed. I'm going to go ahead and save it. And this is a raw 16-bit raw fits image, and then I'm going to save a as viewed. And you know, because this is a fairly dim galaxy, I'm going to save a 32-bit stack as well, because I may want to go do some post-processing and really pull up the gain on that quite a bit. Okay, so I'm going to, this looks decent. I'm going to pull up the black point a little bit more. Come on. There. Okay. And then we'll stow the palette there. So that's starting to look pretty nice. Now, one of the things, because this is a daub, is as we expose, these diffraction spikes will actually turn into fans if we expose for long periods of time. Right now, I'm tracking out of, we're tracking out of zenith, and I think this is, what's the declination? Yeah, this declination's at 49, is very close to 45. So we're actually dropping kind of vertically out of the Dobson's hole. And so these guys won't rotate too much because we're mostly tracking in altitude going downwards as it's dropping toward the western horizon. So actually these diffraction spikes won't rotate too much on us. You can see a little bit, but it's not too much. But we're getting some nice galaxies here. And oh, hey, look at this. This is, we're starting to get some detail in this galaxy here. And also notice that there's a background cluster, galaxy cluster right here. So it looks like we are losing a lot of frames all of a sudden. So let me go look at the full width half mask filter here, because it just gave me a warning. Okay, so, what's filtering? No. Okay, I'm not sure what was going on there, because whatever it is, it looks better now. Let's see what the log says. Detected 51 stars. Frame brightness too low. Interesting. I don't know why that's drifting down like that. Huh. Seems to have stabilized. I don't know what's going on there. Huh. Anyway, so we got a little background galaxy in there. I also noticed And we're in Ursa Major right here. And pretty much anywhere you point your telescope in Ursa Major, do a long enough exposure, you're going to see a lot of little galaxies. So most of these little dots, those are galaxies right there. That's a galaxy. There's a galaxy. There's another one. There's another one. And some of these probably don't even have PGC numbers. Little edge on. Hard to say what some of this stuff is. They're so distant. And you can see now that we've been tracking enough that we're getting a little bit of field rotation. And so that's the that's as we track the image. Some of it gets lost as the earlier frames were at a different rotation. This is just the nature of Dobbs. An equatorial won't do this except when you cross over the meridian. And you have to what's called a meridian flip. With a Dobb, there's no such thing really. It's just everything pretty much keeps rotating as you track it. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to see if I can improve the color balance here a little bit. As we're stacking the frame, the background sky is getting darker, so I got to chase the sky. I'm going to readjust. Good. Okay. Okay. So now that I've readjusted, we've stacked so many images now, the background sky is getting quite bright. But you can see plenty of detail there. Starting to show up in this guy. And more of that background cluster is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Did I count you? I'm not sure. So that's nice. Let's see. I remember where we're at. We're at 5 minutes. So I think I'm going to, again, save this. And I'm going to adjust the black point a little bit more. You can see how much smoother the background's getting as it stacks more and more frames. Oh, and save as viewed. Nice little edge on there. Okay. So I think we'll move on to another target. This is, we could go deeper on that, but not tonight. Okay, so next target, I think we'll try, let's see, which one's brighter? 11th, 12th. They're about the same. Let's try this guy here. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and pause the live stack. One more save of these. I'm going to do a 32-bit save too. Why not? And then it's as viewed. And pause it. And we're going to close off live stacking on that. And I am going to, what am I going to do? I'm going to turn up the gain on the individual frames so I can see where I am as I move. So my field of view is pretty much right. So it doesn't look like I have to do any aligning. So I'm just going to scan over, and you can see the star images moving along there. And there's the galaxy right there. Looks like I overshot it. Good. That's pretty good. Okay. Let's see. So we are at bin 2, 2-second exposures, 1 frame per second max. And I just think I'll go ahead and do that. I'm going to clear the individual frame histogram. So this is what the camera's seeing without any image. And most of your image is down way far on one side of the histogram, when actually you can see with a 2-second exposure, all of the image is down here, and there's very little up here. Some of these stars are up in this region, but most of the galaxy the galaxy is probably somewhere in here, and this is most of the black sky right there. So I'm going to go ahead and turn on live stacking, clear that, and I'm going to put in, we're already getting our galaxy there. I'm going to put in the correct designation, 5676. GC 5676. Okay. Do an auto color balance. Auto gain. Or auto curves. Oh, this is an interesting looking galaxy. Well, that's going to be unusual looking here. Wow, you know, those star images are so nice. I'm really tempted. You know what? I think I'm going to switch to bin 1 on this. I'm getting really good tracking. See what individual frames look like. Oh, yeah, tracking is really good. Okay, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and save this. And I'm going to switch to bin 1. So I'm going to switch to bin 1 here. And, oh, you know what? I'm going to load the smaller frame. I don't need the big frame since it's a single galaxy. So I will load a half frame. Set it to 2-second exposures. Go down here, browse to my dark for the, oh yeah, this is going to be good. Browse the flat, half frame. Okay, so now I got my flats loaded, and I'm going to clear the stack and start again. Sorry if somebody else is on. Please let me know. I don't necessarily know when somebody else is logged on. So hit me with a chat message if you log in. Okay, so what do we got here? All right. So because I went to bin 1, my star images are going to be a little bit larger, so I'm going to adjust this up. I think 4.5 is probably appropriate filter point. Okay. You can see how it's stacked. Every 2 seconds, it's stacking a new frame. And the noise, this is nice because you can see the noise dropping out. Okay. Okay, I'll fudge it up a little bit more. 4.5 pixel star images maybe is a little bit too small. So it'll allow stuff a little bit larger to pass. Maybe 6.5. There we go. Okay. Okay. Yeah, the filter brightness allows you to detect whether, clouds going in front of your target or some such thing. So it'll drop frames when it looks like something's gone really amiss. Or if your neighbor turns on your light and all of a sudden your whole frame becomes white, it'll filter that out for you, which is kind of nice. Okay, I'm going to set the dark. Oh, that's a cool looking galaxy. All the stuff that's going on in there. This will be fun. Okay, so we're at 56 seconds here. Is this 5676? Yeah. I don't think I've ever looked at this galaxy before. It looks really interesting. It looks like it's got some sort of big tidal tail that's gotten ripped out on this side. Looks like there might be something over here too. I wonder if this has an ARP designation. Sometimes when peculiar galaxies that have very odd structures are frequently in the ARP catalog of galaxies, and so you'll see a designation in here, but here you see all these different designations, NGC 5676, and then UGC catalog number, PGC catalog number, MCG, IRS, Sloan Digital Sky Survey number, TUMAS survey number. Everybody's got a survey number. 40, 42. Yeah, that's nice. Okay, so I'm going to pull that down, and I'm going to leave the stars as is. I'm going to pull it up here instead. This is a really unusual galaxy, unusual looking galaxy. Oh, I see. That's a little companion, I think, right there. We'll see as it stacks a little bit deeper to see what we get right there. See if anybody else is in the picture. Let's see, 100%. Okay, I'm gonna move this out. Wait, uh-oh. I'm getting tired. Yeah, I don't really see much of anything in the background here. Yeah, notice the star images here are pretty round. And then there's one star image that's not. I'm pretty sure that's a double star. Because there's no way one star would get oblonged like that. I don't think. At least, unless there's some weird image distortion. Do have some field rotation. Looks like we picked up some slightly flaky. Yeah, we're dropping a lot of frames now. Yeah, I think I was a little bit too aggressive here, unfortunately. I'm just not picking up a lot of frames right now. There may be a little bit of wind or a tracking. Looks like we're smoothing out again. Okay. Yeah, there's definitely some sort of companion right there. If I go to 50%, yeah, you can definitely see. Okay. Well, it's pretty cool looking. I'm going to let it go till about 3 minutes, and then I'm going to move on to another target. Okay. So I'll just let that go, and I'm going to look for no target here. I think I'll skip this guy. And let's see, I think we can switch over to the other side of the meridian here. And it's a pretty bright galaxy. So we could look at that, or oh, we've done a few galaxies. I suppose we could do M56 and then the Ring Nebula. M56 is kind of an unusual looking globular cluster. So I'm going to go over here. Oh, this is good. You can see how much the noise has been reduced as it's stacked more. We're up to 3 minutes and 44 seconds now. I'm going to let it go to 4 minutes, and then I'll save it. So that allows us to, the reduction in noise, now that we've stacked some more, allows me to pull up the gamma curve here a little bit more. And so we maybe pick out a little bit more. Looks like there's some hint of some nebulous features here that may be symmetrical with this side. And then I can certainly go and take more images of this, or and then stack them with this, with Deep Sky Stacker later. So I've got all the data here recorded when I save these. Here's the 56, 76. Oh, you know what? It's after midnight, so we've gone over to the next day here. So yeah, 56, 76 right here. So it's saved. Here's the image it's saved. Oh, that's the first one. This is the second one. Here we go. So this is the image I just saved out of SharpCap. And did I save it? I'm not sure I saved as viewed. Make sure I get a save as viewed here. Yep, okay. So I've got all of the camera settings that I used, so I can reproduce those camera settings and the exposure time and everything. and get more images of this later, and then stack these images in DSS, Deep Sky Stacker or something like that, and then I can get even deeper and remove some of the noise here and start seeing some of the subtle detail in here, because there's actually plenty of data in here. It's just too noisy. If I just reset this and I pull just the raw levels here, you can see I pull it very, very, very close. You can see that there's definitely some detail kind of hidden in that noise out here. There's definitely some stuff going on out here. This companion would be more obvious with deeper stacking. So anyway, so let's go to M56. And then I think we'll hit ring, and then I think maybe we'll call it a night. So I'm going to, you can see where I am right now is I am right here. And actually, you know what? There was one other galaxy that I wanted to hit that's actually in a kind of a decent spot, maybe. Let's see, what is this? Let's get these two guys, and then I'll do M56. So I'm going to go outside and make sure that it doesn't get, the telescope doesn't wrap a cable around itself. Okay. Okay, all good. Excuse me. Okay. I don't know why the mount does this, but sometimes it just kind of bucks a little bit when I'm trying to zero it in on a particular galaxy, or a particular target, I should say. Okay. Well, I definitely see something. I'm going to turn up the individual gain here. See if I, whoa. Well, how do you do? Oh, that's the old live stack. There we go. Yeah, you can see there's a regular tracking error here. I have to let it settle in for a minute. I do not see my target. My field of view is awfully small here. Probably the problem. The inner, whoops, whoa. The inner, my half frame field of view right now that I chose for the previous, there they are. These guys just barely fit in there though. Okay, that's going to be a little bit annoying. So I'm going to go to full frame, bin 1. Okay, it's warning me, SharpCap's warning me my flats are no longer, and darks are no longer valid, so I will, because I changed the frame size. The frame size, the flat has to match your frame size and the gain and things. And the flat has to match your frame size. Doesn't matter what the frame exposure is. Okay, bin 1, open. Okay, so let me zoom in on this, and I want to see if the star images are staying around. 2. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and start live stacking this. I've got to reset the single view histogram. Okay, everything's loaded there. Pull up the gamma curve there. Okay, here are my targets right here. They're a little bit low, but I can crop that out later. So close enough. Whoa, where'd it go? 50. There we go. Okay, so star images are it's going to take a long time. Okay. What's my status? Okay, this is not working very well. Switch to bin 2. The star images just aren't very sharp right now. Okay. Browse my dark. Okay. Load a new dark for the different bin. Bin 2. There we go. Okay. Better. So I'll set the color balance. I'm going to pull up the gain here. That's a really thin edge on. Kind of small little galaxy, this other guy here. Okay, I'm getting better stacking. I went to bin 2, so Luckily, we haven't had anything too big yet. Or too many bad frames that are too bad. Okay. So there we just dropped one frame where the star images were a little bit too big. Okay, that's starting to look like something. So we can let this go for a minute. See how we get. It's a little tiny guy. Another galaxy up there, a very small one. Some distant galaxies there too. That looks like a very faint edge on right there. Oh, and notice we're starting to get a dust lane right there. See that? Okay, I don't know. I'm a little confused as to why Deep Sky Stacker has trouble with that, but what can you do? A little glitchy. Still a good deal. Deep Sky Stacker, the Pro version is $10. Well worth it. Wow, look how dark that dust lane is. My goodness. It's just this little line that goes across the galaxy right there. It's amazing. Yep, that's definitely an edge on right there. Okay. Let me put down what these guys are. These guys are NGC 5963 and 5965. And 5965. I'm going to go ahead and capture an image of those so that I have them for playing around with later. I use GIMP right now instead of Photoshop. Once my images get a little bit better, some of my deeper images, I'll maybe start paying for Photoshop. But until then, I'm going to practice on getting improved images on GIMP first. Get good at it, and then it'll be worthwhile spending money on Photoshop. Okay, so I dropped that. As the images stack, we get more and more or less and less noise, so I can increase the gamma. So I'm pulling this up again. I wanted to see what that dust lane looked like right there. And here, I'm going to bring that up to 200%. Just a little easier to see it online. Oh, and there's a little galaxy right there. I thought that was a star. It's not. You can see the star images here, nice and round. And so you can definitely tell that those are not stars. Heck, that might be a galaxy too. I'm not sure. A little difficult to tell sometimes. That's pretty cool. Pull down the gain a little bit. Or the curve, the gamma curve. Oh, that shows you the extent of things. Huh. What that line is. You know, sometimes I see things that look like features and they're just my imagination. Okay. Okay. And tracking isn't as good as it was. So we're losing stuff mostly. I'm going to go ahead and call that done for now. Go ahead and save that. You can see there's starting to be some little features, like there's some knots in the galaxy that are showing up here. And possibly some hints of companions here, and there's one there, I suspect, as well as this guy. Okay. So I'm going to go and we'll go to M56. I'm going to have to go outside. I'm going to call it a night at 1. Ooh, look at that. I think that's 5907. Yeah. NGC 5907. We looked at a lot of galaxies though, so I'm going to look at check out some other stuff. That is the Draco dwarf galaxy, and one of these days I'm going to get an image of it. I've tried it visually and I cannot pick it out. But I may be able to pick it out with the camera. I've failed at home so far, but I haven't tried really hard yet. So we'll go to M56. Well, how about we go to Ring Nebula first, and then we'll go to M56. Okay, I'm going to go out and check my cables. Okay. So there's the Ring Nebula, and then M56 right above it. Ring Nebula is getting a little high, so I want to get it before it gets too high up. Okay, so let's see what we get here. Ah, there it is right there. Pretty bright. Okay. Okay, I'm going to look at the star images here for a moment to see how good the tracking is. The mount has to settle in after it slews. I'm not in a real sweet spot for getting really great tracking. There's certain areas of the sky where you get better tracking than others with an alt-az. This is kind of in between spots, and so yeah, I'm going to stick with this and just do a filter. I'm not going to. I'll stick at bin 1 or bin 2, which is 1 arc second per pixel. Bin 1 is half second arc second per pixel, but the tracking just hasn't settled in enough to warrant that. So I'll just stick with this. So we'll go ahead and start a stack. Clear. Start this again. Oh, you know what? This is really bright too. I don't need to do 2 second. That was the other thing. I need to go to 1 second. That would help. Don't need 2 second. Those galaxies were kind of faint, so let me reload a different dark. There we go. Better. Okay. So I'm going to put the star filter down and around. That looks about right. 4.4. Okay, I'm going to clear this again until I get a good. I'm going to set this at 4.3. Still not. Trying to get my star images as round as I can. Yeah, this just is not tracking well right here. Usually I like to get stuff as it passes through about 45 degrees up or along the meridian, and this is kind of in between. So, oh well. Wait. I'll go lower. Yeah, actually, I guess we can go to 4.1. Let's try that. Okay. Getting that sweet spot can really help improve. Okay, too much. Okay. Oh, that's better. Okay, good. So some of the real high-res images that I've taken are there had been 1 and 1 second or even half second. So this one isn't going to be as good as that. The seeing isn't good enough tonight anyway, I don't think. Anyway. And like I said, the tracking here isn't the best. I'm not at a good, the M57 isn't at a good spot in the sky to get good tracking with my mount. Let me do a color balance on that. There we go. Yeah, this is not going to be a real high quality image. It's not bad though. The transparency just doesn't, I don't know, it looks okay tonight, but it's not great. So you can see the central star there. And look at another star there. I usually can pick up a couple of stars pretty easily. Two and then one out here. And there are a couple more in here that show up on occasion. So I'll go ahead and save this. We're at 90 seconds. And then we'll move on to M56. And then I think we'll call it a night. Okay. Pause that. Go live stack. Okay, so we're going to scan down to M56 now. It's a little bit lower. It's at 57 degrees. Where was the ring nebula? It was at 62. Boy, it doesn't, looks like it's further than that, isn't it? Only 5 degrees difference. All right. I don't see it. If I recall, the air was a little bit in this direction. Okay. Ah, there it is. There. Okay. So 56. Okay. Need to, oh, the histogram with the live view over here, or the single frame histogram gets stacked with the stacked histogram. I don't know why. I don't think they should do it that way. It doesn't affect the final image that you're stacking. There's, see, so we just reset that, and now we see just this gamma curve applied to it. Looks like we're stacking pretty rapidly there. Oh, now see, we're lower down the sky. M57 was just a little bit too high, too far away from 45 degrees, and I was having a lot of time getting good star images, and I couldn't get anything over under 4 in diameter. So this image is going to be a lot sharper. And in fact, considering that, let's look at individual frames here. Okay, this looks really good. So I'm going to switch this. We're going to clear this. Well, here. I'll go ahead and calibrate this, and then I'll adjust my view here a little bit. I'm going to go for a higher res image of this. So I'm just going to go ahead and save as viewed and save the raw stack. that doesn't have any of these curves applied, so I can just apply them later. And I'm going to pause, turn off live stacking, and go to bin 1. Yep. Yep. See what this looks like. Oh, that is 100%. It's pretty good. Okay. Oh, and it's small. I should load the half frame. Okay. All right. So I'm going to load the dark and load the flat for the half frame. And we start live stacking. See what we get. And because the scale is larger now, there we go. Yeah, I think I will set the filter at 5.1. Okay, maybe 5.2. How about that? 5.1. Looks like we're getting 5. That's not bad. Okay. Okay, we're getting a lot of stacked images now. This is good. Nice. Okay. You can see this is kind of a loose globular cluster. It's not as dense as M5 or M3 or M13. It's kind of unusual. It has that same appearance visually too in my 16-inch. Where it's just kind of loose. Notice all the blue stars in there too. I'm going to do a background color adjust here. But yeah. Okay, what are we filtering here? Okay. So you can see some very small star images that are forming here. Pretty, if I allow this to go for a while, it's going to get some very detailed views here. These images of the stars will sharpen up, and you can see how some of these images are quite small. So as long as I set the filter small enough, we should be good. Let's see what the individual frames look like. So those are the individual frames. So you can see when the star images are larger because of a tracking error. And I'm going to get more of those because I have it at bin 1, so pixel size is only half arc second. And sometimes the mount does a tracking adjustment and really messes things up. Like there. And there. And see the noise in the individual images there, and then we'll back, and I will clear the histogram stretch there. And the background's darkening up nicely, and there's the noise is dropping out. So that's coming along okay. We're just coming up on 2 minutes. Now look at how loose that cluster is. You just don't have stars stacked on stars the way you do in other clusters. I mean, there's certainly a lot of stuff going on back there, but it's just nothing in comparison to some of the bigger globular clusters. Look at these little blue guys. Lots of little blue stragglers in this particular cluster. It's interesting. A lot of fainter stars here. There's certainly more stuff back here. I think I'll let it go to about 3 minutes. That should be enough to really get it. Oh, look at that. There's a galaxy right there. It's amazing. On so many globular clusters, if you look very carefully in the field around them, you'll see faint galaxies scattered everywhere. That might be one too. It's hard to say. Nice color contrast there. It's getting a lot smoother. You see how the noise is greatly reduced now. Save stack. Save as viewed. The seeing isn't really good enough tonight for Ben 1 to really be effective. A lot of these stars are they're pretty darn large. At least right now, it's not great. It was pretty good earlier in the evening. I did some images of Jupiter, and it looked like there was some chances for greatness there. Jupiter image. First time I put a Barlow on there, and I just went to town for that first image. That's pretty good right there. There's a single image. There's some very strange things going on in this belt right here, right now. It's got a very odd storm that seems to be try that one. I'm going to have to try stacking these guys and see what I get. It'll be interesting. But you can see that structure there. I don't know what exactly it is, but it looks like the kind of an oblong, very thin oval version of the red dot, or the red spot. Okay, let's see what we got here. We are coming up on 4. We're projecting a lot of images, a lot of image or subframes. I'm going to zoom in on this. You can see the tracking is not great. I'm actually losing the whole image is drifting this way, and so we're losing this area of the image because the drift of the scope is gradually going in this direction. So tracking is not always dead on. It's a sloppy mount, which helps out in a way. I don't have to worry about dithering. It does that for me, where each image isn't perfectly on the same spot in the image isn't always in the same spot on the sensor. So that averages out defects in sensors, so that normally with the long exposures, you have to actually move your you take your exposure and then you move the telescope point a little bit, just a hair off, so that your next exposure is puts the image a little bit different spot on your sensor. And so you stack 20 or 30 frames like that, and it averages out the defects in your sensor. And all sensors have some defects. Okay. So I'm going to pause it at 5 minutes, and then we'll call it good. So, there. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and save the 16-bit stack. And I'm also going to pull up, you can see the background actually has gotten quite smooth. And so it should be possible to pull it up a little bit more to pull out some of those faint stars a little bit more. There we go. There. So that pulled out some of those fainter stars in the background behind the bright core. So I'm going to go ahead and do the save as viewed. Pretty good image for the seeing tonight. And that's it. So thanks for watching, and I will be signing off now.